Hi, friends, and welcome to our fourth installment of 6 in our ChurchWise series, Resilience in Ministry. My name is Brian Foreman, and I'm the Executive Director of the Campbell University Center for Church and Community. We are so honored that you've chosen to spend part of your day with us watching these videos. The theme for this installment is emotional intelligence, also commonly referred to as EQ. Much like IQ tests your aptitude for measures of intellectual capacity, EQ is a method of describing your aptitude for situations involving what in the past may have been called soft skills, self-awareness, empathy, social skills are a few of those. While many skills such as academic achievement and public speaking have been used to determine the quality of a minister, there's always been a need to pay attention to the things many might have called intangibles. Think of a time when you thought to yourself, read the room. Or maybe someone's critiqued you for not reading the room well. Some of this is related to EQ. When you walk in the room and sense deep despair or tension, some are less inclined to say anything before getting a better feel for what's happened. When you sat through a long, boring presentation where the person clearly lost the audience after 10 minutes, you know they aren't reading the room. Now, all of that is an oversimplification, clearly, of what EQ is. So we're excited this month to bring you 3 videos that go into much more depth and hopefully scratch the surface a bit more for you that makes you want to explore EQ a little bit deeper. If you've watched any of the previous units, you'll find a difference in a couple of these videos. The first is my conversation with Roy Oswald, founder and emeritus executive director of the Center for Emotional Intelligence and Human Relations Skills. He's a longtime ELCA pastor and the thought leader within the Alban Institute. I had the opportunity to record our conversation and dig into topics exploring what EQ is, why it matters to clergy, whether or not congregations can have emotional intelligence, and whether or not you can improve your emotional intelligence. The second video comes to us from Hugh Hollowell. For years, Hugh worked with people experiencing homelessness in an urban setting, having recently accepted a call to his Mississippi congregation, and Hugh shares about the impact of emotional intelligence in his life and in his work, and the deep ways it's helped him navigate very, very diverse folks with whom he's ministered. Lastly, you'll meet Don Durham, an introspective farmer and podcaster who shares that his own struggles make him a terrible person to talk about EQ, but he has a fascinating conversation with an entrepreneur who demonstrates the power of a leader paying attention to the needs, feelings, and humanity of his employees, modeling EQ at high levels and how it becomes such an important part of how he runs his businesses. Now, one of the surprising things about EQ is just how much it impacts our work as clergy, how much it impacts our friendships and our family relationships. It doesn't come as natural for everyone, but it can be developed and increased, partly beginning with honest self-assessment. For example, a few years ago, I spoke with someone who described themselves as socially awkward, yet he seemed to have flourishing relationships. He shared with me some truly fascinating words. He said, I had a hard time making friends when I was younger. There were rules about things that happened that I didn't understand. I missed social cues that were seemingly obvious to everyone else. I had to accept that I was different in that way. I couldn't be that person that everyone else seemed to be through magic, but I could study people's behaviors. I could learn the cues and engage based on my observations. Over time, my behaviors and responses became more natural and ingrained, sort of like muscle memory. And while others would not say today that I lack emotional intelligence, more importantly, I don't think I do either. That's a pretty powerful testimony to whether or not you can build your emotional intelligence. So I hope that through these videos, you'll pick up on some tools, tips, or resources that'll take you further in better understanding the impact of EQ in your own life. Personally, I've seen too many well-meaning people wreck relationships due to an absence of self-awareness or empathy, 2 of these EQ building blocks. No doubt you have seen this as well, or more painfully, experienced it. These videos are for you in your exploration of what helps build resilience in ministry. Our previous installments about leading through change, self-care, and spiritual formation are all still available to you and can be found on the ChurchWise webpage. We welcome your participation and hope that you'll connect with us through our newsletter and Facebook page to keep up to date with how we're trying to support you and your congregations. With that, we say to you, be well, friends.